everybody. Sophia Parola here with the Garden State Film Festival, and here with me are the people behind the making of the short film, The Long Commute. We have director, writer, and producer Miguel Garzón Martínez, and also another writer and the lead actor in the film, Anthony Robert Grasso. Guys, thank you for joining me today.
Thank
Nice
you
to
so
see
much
you.
for having us.
Thank you so much.
Oh, of course, thank you. I'm so excited that I get to pick your brains about how you made The Long Commute. Before we get started, can you both introduce yourselves and then tell us a little bit about the film?
Sure. Miguel, you go first. Go ahead, bud.
Thank you, Anthony. So my name is Miguel, and I have been a filmmaker for 10 years now. My main passion, my main focus is to write and direct. I'm very lucky that I met Anthony and we have collaborated in several projects. The Long Commute is one of our most recent collaborations. And I'm very excited to share this short film with all of you.
Me as well.
Thank you, Miguel. And Anthony.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, guys. Anthony Robert Grasso. I'm an actor, director, and sometimes producer. I've been an actor for about 35 years. I know it sounds old, but 35 years. And I also teach acting, I'd say about 22 years. And The Long Commute is a very special piece that I had an idea for with this actor, Godfrey J. Rayner. He's an older gentleman that I met. He was one of my students and we became fast friends. And he plays the father to my character. And I had this idea and I called up Miguel. And we started to chit chat on the phone. We met at a diner and it started right there. We started writing down ideas and then he started writing the screenplay. I collaborated and we co-wrote it. Wow. And then we produced it with Jen Plotsky, who I don't think is showing up. I hope she does. She's an amazing producer. My wife, Diane Harrington, and a bonus, my daughter played my daughter. So it was a cool experience.
Oh, wow, how lovely. That is amazing. Yeah. You answered one of my questions, how you found the actors, and that's great that you knew them personally. The man who plays your father was a student of yours. He is phenomenal. Student, yeah. You two had great chemistry together. Really great.
Thank you. Yeah, I love him to death. He became like a father now. It's kind of interesting how you adopt people, you know.
Wow. So, I mean, how was it for you both, Miguel and Anthony, co-writing something together? Like, how did you collaborate during the writing process?
You want to answer that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question because the writing process is always very, I want to say, unexpected. And the way we did it, we would get together, we would agree on some ideas. Then normally I would go and try to write it down in more of the format of a scene. And then we'll share again. And there's a lot of bouncing ideas. And there's a lot of back and forth because it is very hard to determine in that process what is going to work and what is not going to work. Mm-hmm. So the approach that we had was a lot of, let's explore this, let's write a draft with these ideas, let's maybe get some group of people together, read it, and then do we decide to keep it or do we decide to try something else? I believe we did about 17 or 18 different drafts of the script.
It was 18.
Oh, wow.
It was 18. Yeah.
Before we committed to shooting.
There's a scene, and I'm sure you would remember in the film where, because the father is suffering from Alzheimer's, that I kind of snap him out of it by bringing back a piece from his play from a Shakespeare. And we knew we needed to find something in the research that we did that sometimes you can pull people back into where we are if you bring up something that is very passionate and strong in their life or a strong memory. And because he was an actor in the script, Miguel and we talked about this Shakespearean piece that we wanted to do, and he found the perfect thing. This is why we love each other, because he really gets what I'm going for. We just really piggyback so beautifully. And that's one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie, is when I help him come out of it.
And that was one of the things that I think you portrayed what the father was going through so well, because that really stuck out to me. And I'm a lover of Shakespeare. So, I mean, Miguel, what was that like for you directing someone and something really, it's hard to portray that realistically. I think a lot of people can overdo it. How was directing the father in the film?
Um, it was definitely a big challenge for me that it involved doing a lot of research and watching other movies. I think that's a helpful process. And as a director, I do like to reference a lot of our material to see what worked and what it didn't work. And for me, it was very important, as you're saying. I was concerned with it coming across over the top or exaggerated. For me, that very natural feeling was very important to achieve. And I was very lucky because Godfrey and Anthony, they're both great actors. They both also prepare very well, so that they on set when we're filming it, again, we didn't do that many takes because I feel it was a very demanding scene. It was very exhausting for them to do. So no, we did it a couple of times with a couple of adjustments, and I am glad. I feel when we all walk the day into the set, we were already on the same page about what we're hoping to achieve.
Yeah, that particular scene, I remember it was a small bedroom. So most of the crew, and this is pre-pandemic, so we had a bigger crew than what we would have now. They were all in the hallway. And the makeup lady that we had, who's wonderful, she was crying. And she said, God, that was so moving, and that was like and we were so in it, I didn't even think about any of that. I wasn't even concerned with the result, but to have someone over, just hear it. And she wasn't even watching it. She was just listening to it. She was like, Jesus, and she was like in tears. She was very shaken by it. So that to me was exactly what Miguel and I was hoping for, I guess you could say.
Wow. Yeah,
and then the best thing was when we screened this at other festivals, people have waited afterwards to talk to us in the Q&A, and they would say how they had parents that were going through that, and we depicted that quite strongly and accurately, which I think we had a big responsibility, him and I, because it was a serious subject. And then, of course, the whole estranged parenting and how you lose contact. And I was telling Miguel earlier, I was like, what do you want to talk about? And he said, well, you had a good relationship with your parents. And this was the springboard, was that I always thought, what happens if I didn't have that? What would that look like? And then last night, I'm at a film festival right now. One of the other writers that I really respect, he said to me, if you don't really have a definitive thing you want to say in a movie, then it's just chit chat, right? And that was the main hub, I think the anchor of this piece, was that it was about forgiveness, and sometimes timing won't always work out. So, but you can still forgive yourself and change from there. So that to us was key. That was key.
Absolutely, and it's inspiring, and you definitely get that from watching the film. How long did it take you guys to film it? Like when it came to the pre-production, the filming process, and post, how long did that take?
I'm gonna let him tell you.
We started with the writing process. Like I mentioned, we did a lot of different drafts, and we were not in a hurry when we were writing. So I do believe we spent like 6 to 8 months just writing, going back and forth. Once we agreed on what we wanted to shoot, maybe that went pretty fast. I want to say maybe like 2 months of pre-production. We just pick dates. Because we do work often, we already have some crew in place that we just call people and be like, hey, the same crew as the last short. So that's very helpful. We had also help with locations through people Anthony knows, a lot of favors. People did a lot of people did favors to us in order to get everything that we needed. The shooting itself was 3 days. It was pretty intense. It was 3 days, very long days. And I do remember after the 3 days, we shot maybe in November. And then we did a first assemble of the film. And when we look at it, we decided we really wanted some pickups. We really wanted a couple of things that we really needed to put in the film. So we did 1 additional day of filming, but that was like 5 months after we shot the film. So we shot in November, and then I believe in March, we went for 1 day of pickups.
Yeah, we were lucky. You know, when people say to you how if you put something in motion, the net appears, you know. So here I am, I'm teaching my classes and I'm telling my students, you know, I'm so excited. We got this lock. The script is really strong. Now we're looking for location, and we originally wanted to shoot it as if it was in England because my father's British. I'm not British. I had to put on a British accent. Whether that's you know, succeeded or not is up to debate. But I gave it a good try, and I did study. But there was a friend of mine, a student of mine, Polly, who said, "Hey, I have a house. It's a beautiful home in New Rochelle and Westchester." And she was like, I would be happy to lend it to you. So we were like, really? And it was just so gracious of her to do that. So we had this house originally to be, because it looks like it belongs in London suburbs. And then we changed it because of finances. So it was that I flew in from London and we went, you know, to a suburb in the US. But we still kept the house because it worked. It worked. It was a perfect scenario because it had an older feel. We wanted it to look like if the father lived there, retired there. So, you know, the psychological side of filming, what I've learned so much now that I've done a few films as a director as well, and then working with Miguel in the process, is that you learn, you know, everything has a reason, right? To kind of tell that story and to be cohesive. So when you leave it, there's a residue and a feeling. So that to us was, yeah, it was great. And the pickup day was so useful because not only did we get a scene that we wanted to get a little tighter, but Miguel said, you know, while we're here, we might as well grab some B-roll of me doing things. And actually that turned out to be an important thing in the film.
Oh,
where you
wow.
see me,
That was when you guys
yeah,
shot the montages. Wow.
right, where like you see me shaving him and you
Yeah.
see all those little
Beautiful
things.
part of the film. Oh,
We
that's
wanted
cool.
him to, yeah, we wanted to have him in the bathtub, but but Godfrey refused. He was like, no one's seeing my British butt.
Understandably so.
He
Anthony, I
was
love that you were mentioning, you know, what you've learned and how, unless you have something important to say, it's just chit chat. I love the advice because as a filmmaker and artist, I think it's great to hear what other filmmakers learn. Miguel, is there anything you learned from this process that you will take on to the next project or that you can give to other filmmakers watching?
Yeah, actually, I believe this is the first time that I do what I mentioned with it of going back and doing pickups. And I think that is a very valuable process. I guess before approaching it, I was thinking more like, oh, well, that means that I didn't do my job well or something like that. But living the process is like, no, it's things that can make the film better. And it's things that you only will discover at a certain stage in the process. So that's what I learned, that it is okay to accept that things change. And if you have to go back there, it's not a failure, but it's just another step towards success.
I love that. And to wrap up this wonderful interview, I'd love to ask you guys how you heard about the Garden State Film Festival and, you know, how's it feel to bring the audiences this year at the 20th anniversary, The Long Commute?
Well, I'm thrilled that it's there because, you know, I'm a New Jersey guy now. And sorry, I just got an email. And I'm there 3 years or 4 years in a row. I've been there. So I'm very familiar with it.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
I had
it's great.
Yeah, I had a comedy there in 2018. I had two in 2019, and then I had one that I directed last year that was there. And now this one. Yeah. So
And what brings you back to the Garden State Film Festival each year? What do you love about it?
well, I love where it is. Miguel, you've been, right? It's on, you know, it's on the boardwalk. You know, you get it's almost like New York reopens in spring, and you know, for me, going to film festivals is mainly to see your work be screened, A, and B, to meet other filmmakers and hopefully collaborate at some point. I just met a bevy of them here in South Carolina, and you know, I take away some friends, and Miguel and I met at a film festival. Oddly enough, right? He was there for a film he directed that my leading lady was in that one as well. So we had two of them up, and we were roommates. And I just immediately love this guy. And I'm not just saying that because he's here, but I always say he's the easiest person to be around. And we had a very similar sensibility. So I told him, you're kind of stuck with me.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's
All
kind of
from a
stuck.
film festival.
Yeah.
That's great. And Miguel, how's it feel to have the long commute at the Garden State Film Festival?
I'm very, very excited. As Anthony mentioned, I also have been there in the past. I believe in 2017, I had another short film selected.
Mhm.
And the Garden State is always a place where the audience is so welcoming and like everybody is so engaged and they really do care about getting to know you, not just the word, but understanding like what inspired you, where did it came from, and that's a very wonderful experience. And now that things are reopening after almost 2 years, it's just very exciting to be back at this particular festival.
We waited. We could have put it in last year, but because it was online, we had a few that went to online, and I think there's something really missed. That I mean, there's two things about being online, right? You can get more people to see it, you know, if they're not in that location, but you're not experiencing it together. And I was in the theater yesterday all day watching movies, and I just thought, this is a very special experience, you know, that we forget that movies are not just because it's on a big screen. It's that you're a collective group experiencing it that time in that moment, and then it's over. So there's something very powerful about that. And I think I hope we go back to always seeing films in theaters, because I have to say, it's not as much fun at home. You get distracted, you're on your phones, you go to the bathroom. That's not the way films should be seen.
Right. And it's on the big screen, and you're giving back to obviously the artist who put so much time and effort into making the films. And that's why I love the Garden State Film Festival, also because you meet amazing people who keep coming back like you guys. So
and I will say, I know Heather well, and I adore her. She's a great actor herself, and everyone else there, just really great people. So
thank you, Anthony.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miguel. We appreciate you guys keep coming back and making amazing films like The Long Commute. Let me tell everyone watching how they can see it in person and be all in the same environment, the same energy, which we love to see. It will be playing at the Jersey Shore Art Center and the Palia Theater Saturday, March 26th in the film block 2:30 to 4:30 p.m. So definitely check it out. Thank you, guys. Congratulations.
Thank you.